caught me. Get off me. Get off me. Forgot about chase phase. Come on, second wind. Come on, second wind. Okay. Here he goes again. Ghost King is a really fun boss to learn, and beating him helps you complete the Sovereign's Curse quest, which lets you craft grimsmile rings in the Alchemist. This is the first time ever I've been able to craft these, so this has been really exciting for me this wipe. It's gotta be here. Oh, the storm got me. With the triple layer dungeon this season, there are limited chances to even see the boss you want, so studying up beforehand can really help you make the most out of each drop. No, I was too late. Darn. So here's how you can do it as a solo fighter. Ghost King is definitely easier to beat on other classes, or if you're playing in a group. Nice work. Oh, yeah, right. Nice. Yeah, right. But I like playing shield fighter, and I wanted to challenge myself to do it solo, so here goes. Here we go again. First, I'll talk about the different attacks the Ghost King has. Then I'll suggest a combat strategy for each phase of the boss. Then I'll show a full solo fight of me playing as a shield fighter from start to end. And lastly, I'll recap the build and kit I use for my runs. How are you? How's it going, Burgess? She's nice. Burger's nice. Ghost King has 5 different attacks or abilities, and learning to recognize them is really important so you can respond appropriately during the fight. The first is bolts. The Ghost King fires an array of magic missiles that need to be either blocked or dodged. Next is teleport. Ghost King teleports to your location, deals area of effect damage based on a radius, and creates a curse pool that stays on the floor of the arena during the fight. I gotta run. Oh, you're running out of heals. Ghost King also has a chase phase, where he gains a protective shield and a movement speed bonus, and will chase your player around the arena. And if he catches you, he deals 10 true magic damage per second, which can be really difficult to heal through. Chase phase, run! No, I'm dead. I got caught by the chase phase. No! The Ghost King also has a jump ability, where he teleports to the middle of the room, hovers in the air, and then comes crashing down to the earth. You have to time your own jump to make sure your feet are not touching the floor when the Ghost King slams into the ground. He also spawns death skulls during this phase, which are really annoying. I'm going to block first. And lastly, the Ghost King has a scream ability, or a scream attack, and this is triggered every time the Ghost King loses 20% of his max HP. The Scream is an attack that can't be avoided. It deals a base level of magic damage that is scaled according to how many curse debuffs that you have. So it's best to try to track your damage and anticipate when the Scream might be triggered, because waiting until after your stacks expire and then doing damage can be a good way to avoid dying to the Scream. And we'll talk more about that as we go through the combat strategy. Scream. So in terms of combat strategy, let's first group these abilities so we can talk about them more easily. The bolts, the teleport, and the chase are what I consider to be the 3 main attacks Ghost King has. And then Ghost King also has the jump and the scream. The reason I've bucketed these 3 attacks into the same group is because it seems like during the regular phase of the fight, the Ghost King can kind of randomly cycle between any one of these attacks. The bolts phase is the most important, because it's the only phase as a shield fighter we're able to deal damage reliably to the boss. The easiest way to do damage during this phase is to try to time a jump. The bolts are targeted to your character's head, to the player model's head. So if you see the bolt attack being charged up, try to wait about 1.5 seconds, and then just before he fires the bolts, if you jump in the air, that will cause the Ghost King to aim for your head and fire the bolts high. So if you jump high and then crouch down, either looking down or crouching and looking up, the bolts will usually fly right over your character. This is the best way to dodge the attack entirely, and then give yourself enough time to get 2 or sometimes 3 melee attacks in response. Okay, now we got him. Note that the bolts do pretty serious damage, 30 true magical damage if they hit you, and they will also apply a debuff stack if you get hit, so keep that in mind. During the bolts phase is also an opportunity to move the boss around a little bit. He has a bit of a chase mechanic during this phase that can be taken advantage of to position him more appropriately. You want to try to move the Ghost King out of any pools on the ground, so when you go in for melee, you're not standing in the pool and collecting more stacks than you need to. I'll risk the pools. I gotta wait for the pools here. So this is a very important and dynamic phase of the fight. Use the bolts phase to dodge the magic missiles and get in your melee damage. Now let's talk about the teleport attack. First, you'll see the Ghost King disappear from sight. This is your cue to strafe away, to move quickly away from your location, because he will reappear, basically teleporting to your location, and cause area of effect damage that knocks you back and applies a curse debuff. Just a little bit slow there. You can kind of get a sense of the range of his area of effect because you can see the little transparent bubble of his area of effect. So watch for this bubble, try to strafe out of its range, and this should be doable if you're not getting too greedy and are able to maintain your movement speed after you get in your melee damage during the bolt attack. Just 2. So don't overcommit, watch for him to go invisible. Look for the transparent bubble that indicates his area of effect and strafe out of range. Next is the chase phase, or the feast phase. When you see the Ghost King put up a blue-colored bubble, you know he's going to increase movement speed and come chasing after you. He's chasing now. If he catches you, he'll do 10 true magic damage per second, which sounds pretty bad, but actually can be pretty reliably healed through. If you are caught, you can spam pots and bandages to recover enough health in most cases to survive the attack. You go this way just to keep it fresh here. Uh-oh. 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 Can I heal my way out of it? Can I heal my way out of it? Uh-oh. 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 This damage will be increased if you have stacks, so keep that in mind. It can be harder to heal through if you've got the curse debuff stacks. If you have a cleric on the team, the cleric can use cleanse to release you from this, which can be very helpful. But generally speaking, try not to be caught by the chase. You can do this by running around the map. This is why I like to have sprint as a shield fighter, because the extra movement speed really helps with repositioning. And during this phase, try to avoid walking through the pools, as the pools will not only apply a debuff that increases your magic damage, but will also slow you if you have too many of them. Wait for these stacks to wear off. Did it slow you too? Yikers. But also note that getting too many stacks is not the end of the world, and we'll talk more about that in the scream phase. So for chase phase, just try to stay calm, try to run. It's okay to go through the pools if you need to find a better line. Just try not to get caught. Gonna take a pool here, I think. Okay. Of course, the Ghost King has a jump attack where he will teleport to the middle of the room. He'll move to hover in the air. He does a little bit of a bob or a head fake up before he comes crashing down to the earth. Watch for the bob up. Try to time your jump so at the top of that bob is when you jump and crouch in the air. Doing so will line up the timing so you've got the best chance to be in the air so your feet are not touching the ground when he slams into the earth. It's time for the jump. You're gonna block, block, block. The jump does massive damage, but to my surprise, you can actually survive sometimes. Yes. Depending if you've got good magic resist or if you've got enough HP, the jump is not a death sentence, so keep that in mind. You don't need to feel too stressed. I feel like the anxiety, the stress is kind of what makes me play worse, so knowing that you've got a bit of forgiveness with the jump helps me stay calm, helps me just pay attention to the timing, watch for the bob, and time my jump correctly. Block, block. During this phase, the Ghost King also spawns 3 Death Skulls, which are really annoying to deal with. But I find the best strategy for dealing with the Death Skulls is to kind of proximity trigger their attack. Don't try to attack them first. Move close. Anticipate they will attack you. Have your shield ready. The shield fighter has an advantage here because we can block the Death Skull's attack. Also, when all 3 Death Skulls attack on your coordinate, chances are they're going to collide with each other and deal damage to each other. This can help soften them up and make it easier for you to get them off the table with your melee damage. The last attack to talk about is the Ghost King's Scream. The Scream is triggered after the boss loses 20% of his total HP, so it happens a total of 4 times. Okay, let's get out of here. There's 2 really important things to say about the Scream. Number 1, the Scream can be devastating if you have the curse debuff stacks. Scream. Uh-oh, I'm dead. Yeah. Oh, I hit the pools. If you walk through a bunch of pools, or you're hit by his other attacks, the bolts, or the teleport, you're going to have the debuff stacks, and when he screams, it does increase damage. So it's in your interest to try to avoid triggering the Scream while you have the debuffs. I want to wait until my stacks are gone before I start doing more damage. Okay, because if he screams with stacks, it's no good. 8, 9. Okay, second Scream. I'm going to heal. This is possible by tracking how many attacks it takes your particular kit, your loadout, your weapon, to trigger the first Scream. So when I start the Ghost King fight, I try to play clean, and I try to count how many melee strikes, how many strikes of my mace, or whatever weapon I'm using, is required before he triggers the Scream. That tells me, going forward, how many attacks I need to count to make sure I know where I am in his HP pool. 9, 10. Okay, that's about 10 hits. Usually with my blue mace or similar damage output, it takes between 9 or 11 hits of my mace to do the 20% HP total damage and trigger the Scream. But once I've got that confirmed, then I know that as I'm going through following phases of the boss, I can take stacks early on in that next chunk of HP pool, because that gives me time to wait out the curse debuff. The curse stacks don't take that long to go away, which is really helpful. So I know early in the next chunk of HP, I can walk through pools, I can take curses, I can do damage. As long as I'm not close to that 20 HP trigger, I'm not at any risk of getting Scream damage. But as I count up my strikes and I get closer to 8, 9, before maybe I do 10 or 11, I want to make sure I have no curse debuff stacks, so that when I do that 10th or 11th strike and trigger the Scream, I want to have as close to full HP as I can, and I want to make sure I've got no stacks. That almost will guarantee that I've got the HP to make it through the Scream attack and into the next chunk of his health. 9, 10. Okay, that's about 10 hits. Discovering this was a big advantage for me and really gives me control over the fight and helps me as a slower, melee-dependent shield fighter. And as a bonus tip, I'm not sure if this is possible, but I see other streamers do this, and that is when the Ghost King is screaming. If you've got the HP and you can tank the Scream, you don't need to worry about healing or spacing, apparently you can attack through the Scream. You can kind of jump to hit the Ghost King over the protected bubble. I think you might be able to do damage to the Ghost King during this phase. Let me know if you know for sure, but also keep in mind this can throw off your counting. If you're trying to count up the number of hits it takes to get to the next 20 HP trigger, attacking during this phase might throw off your counting. So, while yes, it can be advantageous to do more damage, it can also be disadvantageous if you're trying to be more precise with counting how many hits it takes to get to the next Scream. And the second bonus tip here, if you are going for the Sovereign's Curse quest, keep in mind that you don't need to survive, right? This is not a you must extract quest. This is all you got to do is kill the Ghost King once. And it's okay if you do that and die immediately. It's okay if you do that and don't make it out of the dungeon. You don't need to extract to get this quest complete to allow you to craft grimsmiles and get these sweet rewards. So as mentioned, here is an unedited look at a full run of me as a solo shield fighter against the Ghost King. And I include this to show that you don't need to have the perfect run. You don't need to play perfectly. You can make mistakes and still make it out with a dub. It just takes a bit of time and a bit of patience in certain phases. Let's see who it is. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. So here you go. I hope it's helpful. Yes. I hope it shows some of the strategy in action. I was greedy. I got greedy. Just 2. Nice. 1, 2, that's 6, I think. Chase. He's chasing now. It's roughly 10 seconds. And then he's out of it. Okay. 8. Out of the zone. Let's pull him a bit. Okay. 9, 10. Okay, that's about 10 hits. It's about 10 hits. It's time for the jump. You're gonna block, block, block. Blocked it. Get 1 shot. Don't get greedy. So that's 1. Pull him a bit. I can risk this, I think. Got some stacks. Here comes the chase. I think I got space here. I got a route here. About 10 seconds. Okay. Damage time. Lucky the shield saved me. 1, 2. Don't get greedy. Good. Move him a bit. Okay. I'm early. Way early. Way early. 1, 2. That's maybe like 5 or 6 hits. And we need like 10 or 11 to get the scream. Better timing. It's 8. Okay. Okay, it's time for chase. This is gonna need my sprint, I think. I want to stay away from these pools, but I don't think I can. I got 7, 8. Okay. Ooh, rip. I'm gonna second wind. I want to wait until my stacks are gone before I start doing more damage. Okay, because if he screams with stacks, it's no good. 8, 9. Okay, second scream. I'm gonna heal. That's screen number 2. Still got 5 minutes. Get some damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chase time. Do I have a route? Do I have a route? I'm not sure if I do. I'm gonna go this way. Bring him around. Got a good line. We just need to go for long enough. Okay. Block, block, block. I got pooled. That's okay. I got hit. Okay. Here we go. There's not that many more. Okay, it's time for a chase. I think I've got a route here. I slowed down there a bit. I'm gonna sprint. Just on the outside of it. No stacks. Health is decent. Let's see if we can pull him out here a little bit. Pull him out a little bit. Pull him out. Nice. Come on, scream. Yep, that's it. I'm gonna risk that. He's jumping now. Block, block, block. Uh-oh. Get a couple hits in here. He's got a chase coming. Got a chase coming here. We'll sprint. 3 minutes. shield saving me. Pulls. A little bit of damage here. 1, 2. Load up my pots again. Maybe I can get a little bit of range damage on him. Chase time. Okay, running out of time. Go this way. Found a lane. Got 1 stack. That's okay. Okay. Uh-oh. Not greedy. Stay in the middle here. Pull him a little bit. Damage time. Oh, I got greedy. I'm okay though. Chase time. We'll sprint here. 1:48. Okay. We have 1:30. A minute 30. I'm gonna take these pools. One, two. We got greedy. Chase. 58 seconds. We got a nice lane here. I got pools. I take the pools. Do damage. 1, 2. Oh, I did it! I did it! I did it. I'm not gonna get out, but that's okay. I did it! I did it! Okay, and lastly, let's just quickly go over the build and equipment I use for these runs, for these solo Shield Fighter Ghost King runs. The build is this. We got a Spangen helm, a light actin, cloth pants, fast boots. In this case, I'm using adventurer boots with more move speed, light gauntlets. There's a lot of variability here, but what I'm aiming for is light and fast move speed. I want dexterity and move speed. I'm picking these pieces because it's important to be fast, because you have to escape the Ghost King's chase. The Ghost King's chase requires a certain amount of move speed to move away from comfortably, which is why I like this light and fast build. Dexterity is also important because you want to swing quickly. You want a high enough dexterity to ensure you can get enough swings in during the Ghost King's bolt attack phase. So having a high dexterity really helps me with my melee damage output, which is really important. So this build stacks for dexterity, agility. Right, I'm targeting a move speed of around 300, 100%. A little bit slower is okay, but this is what I'm going for. You'll notice I've kind of min-maxed this. I've got a gear score of 124. I like to play in the mid-roller lobby because that gives me enough flexibility to do enough damage quickly, but I'm also not going to be put into the crazy PvP environment of uncapped. You can do this with Squire Kit. You can do this in the under 25 lobby, but I find the timing is a lot tighter. It takes a long time to actually do the damage you need to do to Ghost King in Inferno with Squire gear. So I like mid-roller because I can use a Divine Rod. The Divine Rod I craft with silver pieces, right? I smelt down the silver pieces to make silver ingots and I craft these rods. These rods are great because they deal extra bonus to the undead. And I haven't confirmed this, but I assume the Ghost King counts as an undead enemy. Even if he doesn't, the mace does a good high base damage output. Very important for me to get that DPS because this is the only option we have as a shield fighter. So I choose a mace, a shield obviously, And I also take a recurve bow because getting to Ghost King in Inferno, I just find it's a lot more comfortable with a bow sometimes to pull the mobs I need to. There's just a higher utility in PvE with the recurve bow, I feel. So I like to bring the recurve bow. For the jewelry, I've got a uncommon neck of peace and a rare ring of quickness. Again, there's a bit of flexibility here, but what I'm looking for is the true fizz. True fizz on the neck of peace. I mean, you could also go frost amulet that gives you max health. It's basically the same thing, right? We want a little bit more extra HP. We want that extra DPS with the true fizz. The ring of quickness helps us move faster, also gives us more true fizz. So this is what I recommend for jewelry. For the extra stats on the equipment, you'll notice too that I've got true fizz on the gloves as an option, just to further increase my damage output. I've got magic resist, dexterity, move speed on the other pieces, and my Spangan helm is just common. But again, there's flexibility here. Do whatever you need to do to get your dex and your move speed and your other stats where you like them. You'll also notice I've got stacks and stacks of health pots, because health pots are the best way to recover health during the Ghost King fight because they don't slow you down as much. So I want to make sure I've got at least 6 stacks for the Ghost King when I start the fight, which is why I'm carrying so many. Bandages, just because I expect to take damage on the way to the Ghost King, and so en route I'll use my bandages to recover health to save as many stacks of health pots as possible. I've also got an extra stack of torches because I find that it's just more comfortable for me clearing my way through Inferno with a few extra torches because I like to see what I'm doing down there. I keep the Francesca axes for PvP. You'll also notice that I'm bringing a pickaxe. And actually this could be common. This is uncommon. A bit of a mistake here. So there's even more gear score for you to work with if you replace this with a common pickaxe. But we bring this because chances are we're not going to see the Ghost King. Chances are it's going to be Lich or Warlord, and in those instances, I want to make the most of my time in Inferno, and that means mining for Ruby Silver. So I always make sure I bring a pickaxe. In terms of perks and skills, Shield Mastery, Counterattack, because this is still a Shield Fighter build, and I am expecting to run into PvP en route to the Ghost King, so I want to use these for my preferred playstyle. Barricade, because I'm going to take less damage if I get hit around my shield, but you could also mess around with Swift if you want some extra move speed. Or maybe even Sword Mastery if you prefer to run an Arming Sword, something like that. And then Weapon Mastery, of course, because we're running the recurve bow, and that's what we need to have that equipped. For Ghost King runs, I recommend Sprint for the extra move speed to evade the chase, and also Second Wind, which really helps you recover HP. You can tank the chase phase if you get caught. If you're caught up in the feast and you need to recover health, Second Wind is very helpful. I just find that Second Wind in general versus all Inferno bosses has the most utility. So when I'm doing boss runs in particular, you'll see me running Second Wind instead of Perfect Block. Cool. That's it. That's an overview of the boss's attacks, of combat strategy, and the build and gear that I use. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. I really appreciate you watching. I appreciate your time. If there's things I could be doing better here, if there's ways to optimize my Ghost King runs, please let me know. I'm still learning. This is still very new for me. I was just excited to share a strategy, an emerging strategy, let's say, that I've developed, that I've discovered over the past few days of running Ghost King almost exclusively. But I know there's lots of ways to improve. So if you've got some ideas for how I can do this better, please let me know. Thanks to all the comments and knowledge sharing over the past months, I've really accelerated my progress in the game. I don't think I would have made it this far with all my quests this season if it wasn't for all the awesome advice I was getting on YouTube. Okay, good. I think we'll leave it there. Thanks again for your time. I really appreciate it. Maybe we'll see you in the dungeon. I hope to see you at the board meetings. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you again soon.